Welcome back, welcome back. The Taliban warned this week that they are prepared to take their war with NATO countries beyond Afghanistan into Western cities. The warning comes just days after President Karzai told me that he had had face-to-face meetings with Taliban leaders in an effort to start to negotiate a peace. During my visit to Kabul last week, I spoke to a former Taliban leader, Mullah Zaeff, and he was, of course, formerly the Taliban envoy to Pakistan. He spent time as a prisoner in Guantanamo Bay, and he says, though, he's now involved in trying to work towards a negotiated peace. I asked him if he believes NATO is stronger than the Taliban.
They have weapons, they have aircrafts, they have economy, they have force, they have everything. The Taliban, they have nothing. They are stronger. But including this strong position they are unsuccessful in Afghanistan mission.
Unsuccessful?
Unsuccessful. Yeah. They didn't stabilize the country, and they didn't stop fighting in Afghanistan. And the Taliban became stronger and stronger day by day. And that's the whole community, the whole world, they're confessing that the Taliban became stronger. And now the Taliban, they have shadow government. The Muslim majority of the people, they are going to Taliban for justice. And the most area in Afghanistan is under control of Taliban.
And tell me, if, Mullah, you are successful, if Taliban is successful and Taliban has the country, takes over the whole of Afghanistan, how would you change things? Would women, for instance, be allowed to go to school or to have jobs or not?
In the beginning, when the Taliban became power, I'm agree with that. I'm confessing that the Taliban, they were not known with the war politics, and they wasn't know about the world, and the world wasn't know about Taliban. There was a lot of distance between the Taliban opinion and the war opinion. Now, they have good experts among the Taliban. They know what we should do, what will be more successful. If they become again to the power and they are following the same strategy like before, they know that this is not successful, this is not acceptable to the world. They have to change something. I'm expecting they should change many things, especially about the women. The Taliban, they were not against the women. They were not against the education of the women. They wanted women to go to education, but separate from men and by respect by the law of Islamic law. That they wanted, but they said the priority in Afghanistan is for men because the men have more responsibility than women. This is our culture. This is our community. This is our the Afghanistan community. You know that the men, they have responsibility to provide food, shelter, and provide house for the women. This is the responsibility for the men. They didn't deny we should not allow the women to do job, to go to work, but they said we are not able. The economy of Afghanistan is not perfect. It's not possible for us to provide jobs for the men, and the men have priority to do work.
And would you introduce Sharia law throughout the whole of Afghanistan?
The Taliban, when they arise, they need a very strong position that the people to be punishment, the people don't want to leave the arm to be disarmed, and they want it to be some kind of system will be not denied from any part. This was the Islamic Sharia system. Islamic Sharia system for the people of Afghanistan is the better system because you know the 99% of Afghanistan, they are Muslim. Yeah, this is not some kind of pressure. And this is very easy to convince some people by some regulation system which is not built by the people, not built by me, not built by Mullah Umar, not built by Hikmatyar, not built by Karzai, built and made by Allah, which the whole people they are accepting. This was very easy for us to implement this system in Afghanistan. And I think this was the necessary in that time. This was also the Taliban became successful in their mission.
And what about America at the moment? America had said that it was going to start withdrawing troops in July of next year, July 2011. But do you believe that the Americans want to leave next year, or do you think they would like to still be here in 10 years' time? Would they like that?
One I'm suspecting that the American they should start to withdraw, to reduce the force in Afghanistan. That's I'm looking to the situation. The Americans want to do something because the Obama, he promised with the people, we promised with the world that they would start the reducing of soldiers in Afghanistan. But for a long time, they want to be in Afghanistan. By my opinion, they want to be in Afghanistan. They want to have some basics in Afghanistan. When we are sitting with some people, they are mentioning that we want long-term friendship with the people of Afghanistan. But I'm in the doubt. This is friendship to kill the people? No. What kind of friendship do you want? Maybe a partnership for economy do you want? And I'm suspicion that they want to stay for a long time. For the Taliban, they are fighting against occupation. The Taliban, they said, our country is occupied. We have to bring independence and freedom to this country. Until the foreigner, they are in Afghanistan, we should fight. They are not interested in the government to sit with the Karzai to fight. I think this is the wrong idea that from American and from anyone else, that they should bring the Taliban to the government. They're starting the reintegration process in Afghanistan. I think this doesn't work in Afghanistan because the Taliban, they have ideology. They should deal with the Taliban by ideology to be convinced. Even I'm believing that if even the Mullah Muhammad Omar coming today, joining with American, coming to the government, that fighting not stopping in Afghanistan. This is the other people, they are arising, fighting, because this is ideology to the people. The country is occupied, we have to fight. And this is our obligation, this is jihad. That's the real problem in Afghanistan. I think this will be better for both sides to understand each other better, to understand the real and the mean and the fundamental problem, and to discuss each other and to respect each other. This will be a better way.
Mullah Zaeff there talking to me in Kabul last week. Mark Sedwill is NATO's senior civilian representative in Afghanistan. He's the sort of civilian equivalent of General David Petraeus, with whom I spoke last week, as you may have seen in the programme. He acts, Mark that is, acts as an essential link between the international security force operations and the Afghan government. I talked to him at his home in the Afghan capital. Mark, beginning with something that we discussed with General Petraeus and so on, we had the very optimistic news in the Times a few days ago that the Taliban were on their last legs almost. And we've had the incessant stuff that the Taliban are winning and so on. Where are you in that spectrum?
I think I'm in the same place as I'm sure General Petraeus was when he spoke to you about this himself. I think that was going too far. We wouldn't describe the Taliban as being on the run. Our objective for 2010 was to regain the initiative against the insurgency, and we have to be open that we had lost the initiative over several years. They were spreading their influence around the country and deepening their hold in the south and the east. So our objective in 2010 with the surge was to regain the initiative. And I believe we're on course to achieve that, but I wouldn't go further than that at this stage.
How would you judge victory in the end? Or is there never a victory in this sort of insurgent war?
I think what I judge as success, and I think you're right to say that it's never really victory, it's not that kind of campaign. I would judge success in the end fundamentally as meaning that the integrity of the Afghan state is no longer under threat, that the Afghan security forces, the Afghan government can exercise their authority throughout the country and deal with any threats of violence or criminality that continue, still supported by the West, NATO and other forces, but essentially dealing with that and leading that effort themselves. There'll still be violence in this country a few years from now, disputes over grazing and land and water rights, and these things break out from time to time. But the real issue is, can the Afghans handle that themselves? And when we've achieved that, I believe we'll have achieved the campaign goal.
Yes, because I'm talking about the outcome. I mean, if this campaign that you're waging were to fail and the Taliban were to win, what would life be like in Afghanistan?
Well, I think this is the key question. What they're interested in is power, and it's power to turn the clock back to exactly the kind of regime they ran when they were in power in the 1990s, when men were lashed if they didn't have a long enough beard, or imprisoned. Women were forced to be in burqas, girls couldn't go to school, and all of those other repressive practices. Moreover, of course, we would see the effect on Pakistan, the other countries in this region of an extremist regime having taken over here would increase the threat to them from extremists within their own countries, and of course the wider world, because we would have allowed safe havens for Al-Qaeda and other groups like that to have been recreated. So it would be a really catastrophic outcome, not only for Afghanistan, but for the region and the wider world.
When you read up about Afghanistan in the past, a time when it was a sort of, if not a golden kingdom, at least a prosperous country and not a failed state, could it ever get back to that?
Yeah, I think it could. I think one of the things that is most exciting actually about Afghanistan's future is the very rich mineral resources that have now started to be discovered. Now, we don't know the exact scale of that, but even quite conservative estimates put that at $1 trillion, $1 billion, in other words. And that could be the source of really real prosperity for the people of Afghanistan over the long term. They were a successful agricultural country in the past. There's no reason that couldn't happen again. And it's interesting, one of the things I find most encouraging when I go around the country is if we've had a bad day or whatever, I sometimes just go and talk to some students at Kabul University or Kandahar University about their future. And these young people, like young people everywhere, are positive and energetic about their own futures and looking ahead. So I think the prospects are there. It's going to be a poor country for a long time to come, but the prospects are there for Afghanistan to return to a genuinely prosperous past.
Mark, thank you very much for that
Sedwill,
review of the situation.
Thank you.
A million. Mark Sedwill and Mullah Zaeff there, with their very differing views on where the Taliban will go from here. And that's about it for this week. My thanks to all of my guests on all of the subjects, Iraq and Israel, the economy and everything else. Next week, ahead of the US midterm elections, I'll be joined, among others, by Jesse Jackson. Indeed, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I hope you can join me then. Until then, goodbye and God bless.